I don't need this. That's no good.
You good to go? Okay, sorry, I didn't hear you. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome to the Town of Pownell regular select board meeting, April 27th, 2023 at 6 PM. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Board member roll call.
Angie Rowling,
Jamie Percy.
Bob Davis.
Mike Gardner. Approval of the agenda. Public comment, approval of minutes of April 13th, 23 and April 18th of 23. Warrants, correspondence, liquor and or tobacco license approvals, excess weight permits, unicorn management, request for property ownership transfer to the town, personnel policy review and revisions, domestic animal ordinance initial review, town cemetery initial discussion, public comment, executive personnel, discussion regarding a public official, executive contractual, public comment, and adjourn. Any additions?
so moved.
Second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Angie, I.
Jamie, I.
Bob, I.
Mike, aye. Any public comment, Hannah? Okay, approval of minutes of April 13th, 2023 select board meeting.
So moved.
Second it.
Any corrections? All those in favor?
Angie, I.
Jamie, I.
Bob, I.
Mike, aye. April 18th, 2023 minutes of the emergency select board meeting.
So moved.
Second it.
Any corrections on that, questions? All those in favor?
Angie, I.
Jamie, I.
Bob, I.
Mike, aye. Warrants, accounts payable, April 12th, April 21st, I'm dyslexic there. $20,241.05.
So moved.
Second it.
Any questions, corrections? All those in favor?
Angie, I.
Jamie, I.
Bob, I.
Mike, aye. Accounts payable, April 28th, 2023. $134,543.38.
So moved.
Second it.
Any corrections? All those in favor?
Angie, I.
Jamie, I.
Bob, I.
Mike, aye. Payroll, April 21st, 2023, $9,761.46.
So moved.
Second it.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Angie, I.
Jamie, I.
Bob, I.
Mike, aye. Payroll, April 28th, 2023, $10,336.08.
So moved.
Second it.
Any questions, corrections? All those in favor?
Angie, I.
Jamie, I.
Bob, I.
Mike, aye. Correspondence. Do we have any correspondence, Tara?
Yep, so I have one from the garden club and I think Hannah printed you maps to look
Yep.
at.
Yep.
So they have requested to, well, as you already know, they have a garden plan for, I think it's the east side of the building. The side of the building has a really nice view.
Yep.
They have a whole garden plan for there and some chairs and it's going to be a really nice area. In addition to that, they'd like to install shrubs on the opposite side of the building, as well as some cherry trees in between the lower parking and the skate park to offer more pollinating options. And they're also talking about adding us to maps in the state for pollinator gardens. So we would be recognized in that way. So I was just seeking approval or thoughts on the addition of the shrubs and the cherry trees.
What's the board's pleasure? Are these dwarf cherry trees? Do you know, Tara? I would assume they are, but.
Yeah, that's what I was.
I believe so, but I'm not sure.
Okay. I would think that's what they're doing, but.
Is there a added price for this?
No, we're not going to be charged for it. The Parks and Rec has some funds and there's a lot of volunteers that are contributing time and money to the whole thing. So, but no, they're not asking for any money.
I knew they were doing a grant too, so that's why I didn't know if we needed additional funding. So, thank you. I give them the green light.
I think it's a great idea. I think as long as you have, continued, support and involvement from people within the town, that this is their way to contribute to the town and the town office and what's going on. I think it's a great thing. I think it's an awesome, actually.
I think it'll make the building look nicer too from Route 7 because it'll cover some of that, the cement look.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, just as a side note, which is really nice, is that Bill is actually on that committee as well. So he's able to sort of be involved in what's happening and know what care might be necessary in the future.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I'm a little bit,
The maintenance of them.
the maintenance of the shrubs, but I'm not overly concerned about that because that's kind of if it makes it look better. And I think the involvement of the committee and people in general that are volunteering and coming in, they're hands-on with our town. They might not be part of the road crew or the transfer station, but they're hands-on with what's going on in town. And I like that. I like it a lot.
Yes.
And it's not in the way of the walkway, correct?
No, judging from the pictures,
Okay.
or the proposed area.
What's the board's pleasure?
I make a motion to approve the work that the garden rec committee is working on.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Angie, I.
Jamie, I.
Bob, aye.
Mike, aye. And thank you for all of your hard work. We should start to reap the benefits, I'm pretty sure, this year of what they've done out in the entrance to the building. So, obviously it'll get better as the years go on.
So that's it for correspondence for me, but just to mention, I am waiting for a letter of interest in being reappointed to his positions from Dave Dents. He did email me that he wants to continue with them, but I asked him for just a little bit more detail and clarification on the positions that he wanted to be reappointed to. So as soon as I get that, I'll bring that back to you guys too.
And I apologize. I got to apologize to you. After I told you I would contact him today, I totally lost that.
That's okay. We can just do it next
Shoot.
time. But I do think Hannah has a flyer or something that she needs to share.
So this is from Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation. It says, "Dear Town Administrator, enclosed, please find an informational flyer for upcoming event, the 6th Annual Southern Vermont Economy Summit, taking place in Wilmington on May 23rd, 2023. We would appreciate it if you would share it with your town select board and also post it to a public bulletin board for other town board members and visitors to see. We hope that one or more members of your town government might attend this year's summit, which has content specifically geared towards town leaders and is an opportunity to learn directly from local, regional, and statewide experts." And just a little excerpt here. "Join us for a day-long learning and networking event that focuses on the long-term development of Southern Vermont's economy. It's a great opportunity to gather, think big, learn something new, ask questions, and connect as we do the work of forging in our region's future."
What was the date, Hannah? May 23rd? May 23rd is a Tuesday. Just in case anybody's wondering. Is there a time on it?
There's not on the flyer either, but I can reach out and see. And if you guys approve to put it on the website, I can just.
Yeah, let's put it on the website. Can we also send an email to, our DRB and Planning Commission members? Is anybody else should we send one to, road crew, wastewater? I don't know if they would go to that, or probably not, probably just our DRB and Planning Commission.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that, Bob?
Well, I think DRB, Planning Commission, and Select Board are probably the three big ones. And I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem to me to be something that the treatment facility or our road crew would go to.
No, I just don't want to exclude them if we thought we should. that's
Oh,
all.
yeah. No, that's true. And I just have a question. Is there a cost, like
Um,
registration or anything, or you just show up?
From my understanding, there's not, it doesn't say anything about that on the flyer, but I can definitely reach out and figure that out. And then when I send out the email, I'll include that in there as well.
How about a sign up deadline? Is that on the flyer?
I don't think so. I think you can just go for the day, but I think those are all good questions. I can reach out and ask.
Okay, perfect.
And that's it for correspondence from me.
Okay, I have liquor license and tobacco approval if we're ready to move on.
Yeah, I think we're done with correspondence, right? Was that it? You know, okay, so moving on to liquor license, liquor and tobacco license approvals.
Okay, so that I don't totally screw this up like I did the last time, we're gonna do them separately. So the first one is a second-class license at the Pownell Market in Delhi.
So moved.
Second it.
Any questions? The address for that is Route 7 in Pownell. I don't know the exact address, right? I just want to make sure everybody knows. All those in favor?
Angie, I.
Jamie, I.
Bye-bye.
Mike, aye.
Okay, so the second is the tobacco license for Pownell Market in Delhi.
So moved.
Second it. That's okay.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Angie, I.
Jamie, I.
Bye-bye.
Aye.
And lastly is second-class license for the Royal Enfield of Bennington County. Which, in case you don't know, they are down in North Pownell. I think they're gonna be opening soon. I'm not sure on their opening date, but that's where they're located.
So moved.
That's the new business that took over Jellies, right?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, where Priscilla had the pizza and everything.
Yeah,
Yep,
okay.
around the corner at 346 North Pownell Road.
All right.
And get on your iron horse and go.
Second,
Any questions? All those in favor?
Angie, I.
Jamie, I.
Bye-bye.
Mike, aye.
Okay, that's it for me.
Excess weight permits.
There are no excess state permits.
No excess weight permits, perfect. Unicorn management request for property ownership transfer to the town.
Okay, so Kim Caldwell's here. She, Unicorn Management, Francisco, had to reschedule, but she's still gonna do her portion because she was supposed to be here as well. So.
Hi all, can you hear me?
Kim?
Yes.
Hi, so I'm Kim Caldwell. I'm with the Sites Management section at Vermont DEC. And I have a few slides to share. I'm not sure if you have them up in your room and the ability to share online, or if I should share my screen.
Usually we can. We're having a little trouble with Zoom right now, so if you could pull it up on your screen, that would be very helpful.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, it says it's disabled for me.
Try again, I just changed the settings. Is it letting you share?
No, still not working.
This has been giving us fits all night.
Even the last meeting.
Oh, looks like it's working now.
Okay, perfect.
I can make a selection.
Good job, Hannah. I know that's super stressful.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you all see my screen then?
We can.
Is she talking? Because now we can't hear
I
her.
think that was a yes. Okay, I wasn't sure if that was a yes or. Okay. So, so we're all on the same page. We're talking about the former Warren Wire property. It sits between Center Street and Route 7 and North Pownell Road. And these are just two images of the site. A more recent photo, which shows that there's still basically a building slab on the property there. And then in the 1950s is when Warren Wire operated there, and you can see a building from some older imagery. So why I'm here tonight, you may be aware that there's an ongoing conversation between the current property owner and American Premier Underwriters, which holds the liability for the contamination at the site, and their consultant, Unicorn Management Consultants, which Francisco Trejo is a part of. So they're working on a potential agreement. And in parallel with that, the property owner is hoping that he can transfer the property. And so it was proposed that this would be a potential option for the town to take ownership if interested. And so I'm here to talk about what the process would be to allow the town to take ownership and to not take on any of that environmental liability or financial obligations once the town were to own the site. And so there's a few pieces, different processes that would need to happen where we would work with the town prior to taking ownership to make sure that they are protected. And so I'm going to be talking about our liability exemption process, our umbrella program, which I'll get into the details of what that stands for, and just the process of conducting a phase 1 environmental site assessment prior to purchase. And just a little bit more background, if you're not aware, the site is contaminated with per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. And so if you're not familiar with those are man-made compounds that were used for things like waterproofing. They're in a lot of manufactured products, and we know that PFAS, specifically PFOA, was used by Warren Wire at their Teflon coating, in their Teflon coating manufacturing process. And so they operated at the site in the 1950s. The EPA first identified contamination at the site in 2016. And this was shortly after the current owner took ownership and was not aware of the contamination. Vermont DEC conducted some investigations following EPA's work, mainly to investigate potential impacts to nearby drinking water wells. And eventually we were able to get American Premier Underwriters to start doing the work at this site in 2020. And their consultant again is Unicorn Management, or UMC. So if the town were interested in taking ownership of this property, the first piece that would need to happen is coming into an agreement with the Agency of Natural Resources and the Agency of Commerce and Community Development. So this exemption has been an option in the past for municipalities if they have taken ownership through something like a tax exemption where it was involuntary. And last year we were able to amend the statute to allow this to be an option in cases where a town wanted to voluntarily take ownership of a property. And that's always been an option for regional planning commissions but was never an option for towns until last year. And so we have a template that basically outlines if we would ask the town to do any work during their temporary ownership. It's really meant to be an interim ownership that provides this exemption. And we'd work with the town to outline, what that process looks like. We don't actually expect the town to be doing any of the work because APU would be continuing their work while the town owns it, and we would just ask the town to provide access. And then at some point, we would expect the town to market the property to a developer at any point that they wish to do that. And so this process, I would say, between drafting the agreement and getting signatures from secretaries of both of these agencies, it could take 30 to 60 days. Let's see. The second piece, and especially if the town was thinking about potentially keeping the property long-term, we would encourage the town to enroll in our BRELA program, and that stands for the Brownfields Reuse and Environmental Liability Limitation Act. So BRELA is what the standard process is for really anybody looking to purchase a brownfield. There's a $500 application fee, and the approval process is pretty quick, usually much less than 30 days. But we would encourage this process, if the town wanted to keep the property, because once the work is done, they would receive a certificate of completion that provides liability protection in perpetuity. And so it would protect against any changes in environmental standards. If something was found that we didn't expect, and like a new issue comes up, the town wouldn't be responsible for dealing with any contamination. And so this is our standard process for someone who's purchasing a brownfield and looking to redevelop it. It's just that the previous process, the exemption, is something unique that a town can do to not have any liability during the process. Normally, when someone takes on a brownfield, they still hold some liability until they get through the entire cleanup process, but that wouldn't be the case for the town. And lastly, so the BRELA program and the exemption really cover state liability protections. Separately, when you buy a property, there is potentially federal liability, and the process for being protected against federal liability is conducting a phase 1 environmental site assessment prior to purchase. And so this also makes the property owner eligible for federal cleanup money if something like that were ever needed. But this is really another layer of protection that would allow the town to not have any liability at the site and be able to access funding. If for some reason something were to happen where the responsible party, APU, stops doing work, we would have another avenue to access funding and keep the work moving, although that's unlikely to happen. This phase 1 environmental site assessment, it's really a desktop review of the history of the site, and is a document that explains what the environmental issues are. It identifies recognized environmental conditions. And so environmental consultant performs that work, and we would recommend that the town applies to DEC for funding for this document. We have funding available, so the town could ask us to fund this work, and we would have one of our contractors do that phase 1 for the town. And so, if all of those pieces are completed before the town takes ownership of the property. We expect that UMC on behalf of APU would continue to do their environmental assessment work. Once they're done collecting all the data they need on the property, they would evaluate cleanup options and implement any cleanup that's needed, and likely be conducting long-term monitoring on the site. But all we would ask for the town is that access is provided so that work can continue. I wanted to also mention there's a small petroleum release that's coming across Center Street from another property. It's been well delineated, but there's potentially some additional work that needs to happen to address that. And all of that work has already been being funded by the state's petroleum cleanup fund. So again, there's another consultant working on that project, and all we ask is that access is provided for that work to continue. And so that's all I have, and I'm happy to answer questions. We're really just, wanted to provide the information and gauge the town's interest while APU continues their discussions with the current property owner, and, go from there.
Do we have a timeline on the steps during the cleanup?
That's part of what APU is planning to discuss a little bit. Right now, they're still doing some quarterly monitoring to confirm that the extent of groundwater contamination has been well defined, and we're pretty close to that. I think they have maybe 2 quarters more of sampling that they want to do, just to confirm with the existing set of wells that the plume is well defined. And at that point, I believe we'll be ready to start evaluating cleanup options. And that could include, just for example, a limited excavation in areas where soil contamination is really high, and we want to prevent future leaching of PFAS into groundwater. And most likely, part of the remedy will include long-term groundwater monitoring, and making sure that drinking water wells in the area are not impacted, and that everything is kind of remaining where it is and stabilized, because there aren't a lot of technologies that can actually clean up PFAS in the same way you can do that with petroleum contamination. But so those are the things I'll be evaluating, and I would say that could be a year to 2 years out, and then implementing a cleanup plan.
So if the town decided to keep the land, we couldn't develop it or anything until everything is completed. Is that correct?
Most likely redevelopment wouldn't be possible until we've determined what the cleanup is going to be, especially if that's going to include some sort of soil removal. And because there are a lot of monitoring wells on the property right now that need to be accessed, we'll need to get to a point where we've delineated everything and then come up with basically what the redevelopment would be, kind of in conjunction with the cleanup, or wait till everything's done and then redevelop. But if there's certain options that you're looking at for reuse, those can certainly be considered when the cleanup options are being evaluated.
And what is the timeline for that? Are you thinking 2 years, 3 years, 5 years?
I would say in the next year, we'll be at a point where we're looking at the cleanup options and determining, if there's going to be something happening like a source removal. That's my best guess at this point.
So Kim, and when we had the preliminary discussion with Francisco and you were in on that with Hannah and I, basically right now, the access with the current owner is limited at best. Is that correct? For you guys to get in there and do what you need to do?
Yeah, I say, the work has been able to continue thus far. But I think we're not certain of if the access could be revoked in the future, or if it will be difficult to retain that access. We know the property owner is eager to be rid of the property and frustrated with the situation that he's in.
Mm-hmm.
Did the property owner reach out to us? That's what I'm trying to remember. If they actually sent us a letter.
No.
So that's where I'm kind of convoluted on this.
So, unless I'm mistaken, Kim, and you can jump in, Hannah and I met with the representative from Unicorn Management, and Kim was in that. It was a Zoom meeting. It was a while ago,
Remember you mentioned.
Yeah, that's right. It was quite a while ago. So,
That's why.
I believe Unicorn reached out to us with the property owner's consent, I guess would be, or the property owner knows, what's going on. And from what I understand is willing, or at least was willing, to transfer ownership to the town of Pownell for whatever, $1 or whatever it is. It's not a purchase. It's basically free. The questions that Hannah and I had were, what are our liability? Which Kim explained totally for us, because it's like, okay, I'm not going to get involved in that if the town's going to be liable. But Kim, as she has tonight, explained that the town basically comes up with zero liability for cleanup and what's happened there. The way I understood it is it gives Unicorn Management and the underwriters and the state and federal government the ability to get in there, guarantees them, if the town takes ownership, it basically guarantees them the ability to get in and do whatever needs to be done to clean it up. And then we can, the town, when I say we, it's probably might not be this board, might be someone different, because it could be a few years out. But it gives the town the ability to either turn that into a park, or we could sell it. That's
right?
Right, Kim. We could sell it for redevelopment. And I'm trying to remember. It was a while ago when we had that like I said, feel free to jump in anytime. So,
What is the size of the lot?
I don't know. Do you know what the size is, Kim? I don't remember. That's a good question, Ange.
I had that up earlier. Let me find it really quick.
I don't remember what the size is.
I was just wondering if it was something down the road, if we could subdivide it, if it was big enough.
Well, yeah, because I'm pretty sure because it's in the village zone.
Okay.
And it can be connected to sewer.
Okay, that was my question.
I guess I'm confused that outside entities reached out. I understand why now, because they're looking for continued access to the property.
Because he's at the point now, the way I understand it, the owner is he wants to just He could like say.
He wants to
no-
wash his hands, get
He
away
wants to
from it.
wash his hands, or he could say to them, no more testing, you're done.
I'm just surprised.
Is that
the-
correct, Kim?
I'm surprised the owner.
He has
It's-
stated that is something he wants to do. That is not to his benefit because, he's allowing access to APU to do the work as a responsible party. If APU is not allowed to do the work because he's denying access, he as the property owner is liable.
Oh, I
for
see, yeah.
contamination, even though he did not cause the contamination. So the responsibility ultimately falls to him if he refuses access to other parties.
Okay.
It's, what'd you say, Hannah, just over 3 acres?
Just under 3.
Oh, just under 3
Just under
acres.
Yeah, that's what I have, 2.9 acres. I would mention too, a lot of the site is considered a wetland area.
And if we got into the Barella and it's $500 fee, is that an annual fee or is that just a one-time fee?
That's just a one-time application fee,
And so then we wouldn't have to apply again.
correct?
Okay, thank you.
But there's two $500 fees, two separate
Right.
things.
There's just a fee for Brella. There's not a fee for any of the other, for the exemption. And the phase 1 is something that DEC could fund. So it's just the one fee.
Okay.
Okay, I thought I saw prior to the Barella slide, there was another $500 application fee for either the A&R or the ACCR piece.
No, that the exemption with the two agencies, there's no fee for that. It's just drafting an agreement that gets signed.
Thank you.
Bob, do you have any questions?
I don't.
And we're not asking right now to,
Make a decision.
make a decision on that. Kim's just doing a presentation
Right.
on her part. And I believe Unicorn Management has a presentation for us as well. Hannah, I know we asked him to provide us a synopsis of his presentation before. Did he provide that to us?
He just called today and said it wasn't ready. He needed some more time. So
Okay.
he wasn't going to be here, but then Kimberly was still going to join us.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah, I
fine.
would say most of the presentation was information that I just gave you. They were just going to give a little bit more related to their potential time frame for their work. And I know they did want to be able to provide an update related to their agreement with the property owner, which is happening in parallel. But since that wasn't able to happen by today, they decided to cancel.
I know this is a question that we asked before. And I don't remember the answer to it, and I apologize, Kim. So if the town were to take ownership of this property and we were to, 5 years, just hypothetically, 5 years down the road, everybody determines that it's clean and we can redevelop or we can sell it. The town can sell it for whatever fair market value is. Is that correct? I mean, because if we take ownership through a tax sale, we can't make money on those. A town can, municipality can't. So this is something that you could potentially down the road sell for $20,000. And, and I'm being hypothetical, obviously, but, and that would just come into the general fund. Is that correct?
I'm not really familiar with, what the town can or can't do. I don't know of any reason why the town couldn't sell the property for a certain price. It's certainly something that, regional planning commissions and regional development corporations do when they go through this process. But that's not really
Probably a question
something
for
that
our,
I'm familiar with.
think
Probably a
Hannah's,
question for our attorney,
I
right?
think Hannah's got an answer, actually. I see her eyes.
Reached out to VLCT when we first talked about this.
I thought so.
And they did recommend, like Bob said, reaching out to our town attorney, but they also said, you are correct, Jonah. Speaking, the town can't be in the business of flipping properties for profit, but there may be ways to recoup costs. Again, the town attorney should be involved in answering these questions, so.
Okay. I was just,
So meaning that if we take ownership of the property and we end up selling it, the best we're gonna do is break even. But of course, it'll be back on the tax roll.
right, exactly. I'm just trying to ask the questions, Bob, that we asked in the, we're trying to refresh my own memory, to be honest with you. When Hannah and I met with them, back months ago.
That's why I wasn't sure when she initially stated the temporary ownership. I didn't know we're supposedly keeping it temporarily while they do their work and then it reverts back to this gentleman, the present owner, or?
No, the way I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, if we obtain ownership, we agree to take ownership from the party that owns it now. We become the owners of record forever until we do something different with it.
Right, until we deem it.
Yeah, and the agreement, that's kind of the reason that the Agency of Commerce and Community Development is part of that initial exemption agreement, is because it will outline, what the town's plan is most likely to be for marketing the property to a developer, or, if they intend to keep it. That's something that could change, but
Right.
that's why they're involved in that process.
All right.
It's typically a temporary ownership because this process is useful in cases where a municipality or a regional planning commission takes on a challenging site and is able to access grant funding that other for-profit entities are not able to access typically. And so they're kind of able to clean up a property and get it ready for a developer and make it more marketable to those for-profit entities.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else have any questions for Kim? I think we've been, I think, covered everything I had.
Do more down the road maybe, but.
Well, yeah, I'm sure we're gonna be talking to Kim again about this project if we decide to take ownership or whatever. I think we need to hear from Unicorn Management.
Yeah.
And then, weigh our pros and cons as a board and come up with what we want to do. I came in, I'll be honest, when I met the first time, when Hannah and I, I was kind of a negative Nancy on the whole thing, but, at the end of our meeting, it seemed like the pros far outweighed the cons to me. So, at least trying to get it cleaned up and getting things taken care of and move forward with a problem. At no cost to the town, which is what I was
Right.
happy to hear. Well, thank you, Kim. I appreciate your presentation tonight. I think you've answered everybody's questions, and like I said, I'm sure we'll be back in touch before the process at least gets completed one way or the other.
Okay, sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too. Okay, personnel policy review and revisions.
Okay, so just a real quick recap. We had our personnel policy you guys approved last February, right before I came in. And then in June, there's a federal holiday that was celebrated or observed by most town offices, which you guys decided that we could have that as a paid holiday, but we never approved the addition of that to the personnel policy. And we also never approved the addition of the office appearance policy, which I realized when I sent you the personnel policy, I didn't add all of that stuff right into the document. So if you choose to approve it all, it would be with the changes of adding that stuff in.
So do you want to wait and bring this back next meeting with all of those changes, or do you want to approve it with the changes?
It's up to you. I mean, you have all of the information, that I would be adding to it, just that Juneteenth holiday. And
So the
then,
person, yeah, the June 10th or Juneteenth holiday, which is literally Flag Day, correct? The way I understand it? And then adding the office
office.
appearance
yeah,
policy.
the office appearance policy, which that just sort of ensures that we can keep the office looking professional and inviting for years to come, regardless of who's there for staff.
Right, so I make a motion that we add Juneteenth Flag Day in for one of the holidays under the personal policy, and to also add the town of Pownell office appearance policy effective immediately.
Second it.
Isn't there a waiting period when we, oh no, that's an ordinance.
That's an ordinance.
Yeah, it's normal.
Yeah, okay. Just wanted to I answered my own question.
And just so that the public is aware, what I plan to do is, now that we've updated this, I'll send it to all the employees and have them sign up that they've received it, reviewed it and received it. And then if they're non-employees, such as elected officials, we can have them sign a non-employee agreement that just says that they'll adhere or, abide to those the same standards as a appointed employee.
And that should be a yearly thing.
Yeah, that's what my plan is. Every year in April, I'll redo that process.
Thank you, Tara.
Definitely.
I mean, or you could take it and do the initial, and then if you're doing annual evaluations, you can take and update them then.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. I have a second. Any more discussion on the personnel policy and review and revisions? All those in favor?
Angie, I.
Jamie, I.
Bob, aye.
Mike, aye. Domestic animal ordinance and initial review.
Okay, so this was just, like I said, very initial review. I sent that all to you earlier, and it has been reviewed by the lawyer. He went through it with me sort of line by line, with Rebecca's notes that were on it, which was very helpful. And he made suggestions, which I went through and made those corrections. And now I just sort of wanted everyone's opinion, especially on the fines, because Mr. Fisher says we can go up as far as 500, and we're on the lower side of the fines. And so I just wanted your opinion on that stuff, and on the overall looks of it, the feel of it, all of that. And then I'll send it back to him for sort of final reviews before starting, the whole process.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't we have a discussion one time about poultry, keeping them in their own property? And did I not see anything in here, or did I miss it?
I did not put that in there because it's a tricky one. But if
Okay,
you want me to try to,
Free range poultry is gonna be tricky.
Yes.
it
okay.
is tricky because saying that you have to keep them in your yard, I don't really know. I don't know how our community will feel about that. What
I
does
just
everybody
remember
else think?
having a discussion about it.
I know, and I think Leonard would like to see a little bit more regarding that, the poultry, but I'm not sure how to address it, and I haven't seen it in any other town
Okay, I just
ordinance.
remember discussing it. I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah,
I guess what we'll have to do is look at the definition of free range, and it needs to stay on their said property, own property.
I just know that there was a problem at one time.
Yes, no,
Yeah.
and that's why that's kind of where
Because it does say poultry, swine,
yes.
pheasant and partridge and all that, domestic animals.
yeah, because it includes any domestic animals. So I
Right.
mean,
So I guess we're covered.
it just doesn't specifically state poultry. And I think in the ordinance that you're speaking of that Megan may have been working on, maybe Tim, it stated what they needed for housing or coops, and it had like a lot of detail that was just
No,
it wasn't really what we were looking for, I don't think.
okay. I was fine with it. I didn't see anything that jumped out at me except for that one question.
About the poultry.
Yeah. And it's in there. It does say domestic animals. It says poultry, pheasants and partridge, quail, parrots. I mean, people should try to keep,
Feather bearing critters.
whatever. Anybody that owns any kind of animal should keep it on their own property, period. Don't be a nuisance to your neighbor.
Feather bearing.
Why is she laughing?
I don't know.
Guys are
Are
redneck.
you awfully tired tonight, Tara?
I am. That's why I'm home and my video's off.
That's all right. We'll forget.
If we're comfortable, I guess, with this, are we comfortable with the fines?
You know, I don't think we're out to make tons of money. I mean, we just want people to take care of their animals and so I'm comfortable with the fines.
Any more discussion?
This is in our, and I'm sorry, I'm late asking this, but this is in our, I'm looking for it in our email.
Yeah, it is in the email.
In
I think
tonight's,
it's in a Windows doc. Because I'm still working on it.
I'm sorry, say that again.
It's a Windows document because I'm still working on it. I think it's called like work in progress, domestic.
Are we looking for approval tonight?
No, just initial thoughts and ideas and your thoughts on the fines in particular.
I guess my thought on the fines is we need to have I don't know if it's a one-line verbiage, because we do have people that they're paying their fine, but it doesn't seem to bother them that their animals get away. If I remember Leonard speaking on a certain incidents, and he's fined them and they paid it, so I don't know if it's a continuation issue, and I don't know if Leonard wants to chime in as far as a certain number that then it may exceed. Somehow we need to a more stringent fine, I guess.
Yeah, we can definitely, I can touch base with Leonard on that. And it does say after so many times, they have to complete, I don't have it right in front of me, but they have to complete the like an online training course or something.
Yeah, I see that too, and I agree with that. Just some people, guess they just don't mind paying. I mean, even if it's 30 times later, I guess, where I'm going.
Well, I think that's our biggest question, is the fines. So I guess, Tara, why don't we do this? It looks like the only questions that anybody has basically are fines.
Yeah.
As a board, let's send our recommendations in an email for the fines. We'll send our recommendations to Tara. And we'll vote on the fines at the next meeting to impose whatever fines we decide as a board. That'll be what they are.
Yep, and I'll get Leonard's opinion on it too before the next meeting, and then we can include those.
And then in our next regular meeting in May, we can certainly say yay or nay on this whole thing and get it in process and get it done.
Yay, I'll be so glad to do that.
Yeah, no.
Oh, absolutely.
It looks like that's our only holdup. So rather than hash out fines tonight, so we can get everybody out of here, let's.
No, that's good. I'm good with that.
Send an email to Tara and go from there.
To be clear, our feedback won't be limited to fines, but it sounds like that's where everybody's focused.
Exactly, Bob. Sorry. I don't want to limit it to that. Absolutely. If there's some feedback, just get it back to Tara and we'll adjust whatever we need to, and we'll finalize an ordinance to send to the lawyer, and we should have it done in 4 weeks.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay.
No, okay.
Town cemetery initial discussion. Are you done? Are you good with that now, Terry? You're good with that, right?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay,
And
okay.
the next one is me too. So basically, as you guys are aware, we took over Oak Hill back in April, I believe, of 22. I was so new to the job. I was very overwhelmed with different tasks, and I, overlooked many things that need to happen with cemeteries. And basically, we should establish a cemetery fund, but we can't really do that until we do that with the voters. So in an effort to save money, I don't want to do, a special election or anything like that. But in order to get prepared for, the next year's election and to hopefully establish a fund, I'm hoping that you will approve me using possibly some money out of the the housing rehab loan that we had discovered we can reuse.
Mhm.
A small amount, not a small amount, but enough to establish with a program called Semify, who I've been referred to through the North Bennington Cemetery people. I've worked with Marhar's Funeral Home, suggested that I use that program because it's a mapping program. They'll train me how to do all of the mapping and the data tracking because we have, our land records have cemetery recordings in them that don't match the maps that I have. And there's a lot of recording issues. I'm not saying with Julie or town clerk wise, I mean like cemetery map wise. They just don't match any of that's really tricky to figure out. And I can't rightfully continue to sell plots until I know which ones are available. So currently, just so everyone is aware, if people call me for Oak Hill, I've been referring them to the North Pownell Cemetery. And that happens to be taken care of by Cindy Brownell right now. She did mention that that might not be for much longer. So I have a feeling we could end up with all of our town cemeteries. And if we don't have any room, it's a goal of mine to find more land. Because I know I'd like to be buried in Pownell and I know a lot of people would. So it's frustrating for me to have to say no when people call. So that's the sort of urgency of getting the program and the mapping system in place.
And how much is that program and the training? Do you
So
know?
they say an annual cost is anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000, depending on your size of your cemeteries. But initially it would just be, I was hoping to get 5,000 approved so I could get it started.
What's the board's position?
And we can use that money, and remind me, was it 21,000 or 22,000?
I think it was 19 and some change.
Oh, 19.
Yeah, I think it's 19.
Yeah, and we can use it how we see fit. I would just have you word it just right in your approval. And I would word it as up to 5,000. I may not need the full.
It's the board's pleasure. I know my personal feelings on this are,
We need to take care of it.
we need to take care of the
Sorry,
cemeteries.
yes, absolutely.
There are ancestors, there are elders, there are former
Absolutely.
select board members, whatever. They're here. That's my feeling. They're people who have lived here and have family who have roots. And so I'm all for it. But that's just my personal opinion. And
it will help with a lot of ancestry or like people researching their family history. We have a lot of requests, do you know if my parent is buried in this cemetery? Even the historical cemetery that's down the road from the town office isn't documented very well.
Correct.
I guess my question, Tara, is will it take into account private cemeteries as well? Or just the town?
I'm sure we could because Pownell is not very big and the cemeteries are not very big.
But there's quite a few of them.
Private?
There is quite a few, and we actually, as a town, I believe, mow them all. Or
Right.
close to all of them.
Well, I mean, I know personally, we have a private cemetery at the farm that,
Yeah.
that's where my dad's buried. I was just curious if it would take into those take into account those private cemeteries. I'm not asking for somebody to come mow, we take care of
No,
our
I
own.
know. And you were-
No, I think
Yeah, I just for the mapping purposes, but yeah, the location, that's right. I was just curious about that. That's all,
I
not.
think it should because, and it does get recorded on our land records when you have a private cemetery and you do a burial on your property. So
Yeah.
I don't see any reason we couldn't include that with the.
Yeah, I would just, just a curiosity thing for me. I mean, I
Yeah,
know
because
there's,
who knows? I mean, 100 years down the line, I mean, your great grandchild might want to be, looking for that info.
I know there's a cemetery on Carpenter Hill that I bet you there's not 10 people in the entire town know where it is. So,
Right, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've known it was there since I was a little kid, but.
And it's important to take care of them. I mean, perpetual care on our cemeteries is definitely lacking. So,
Yeah.
it's been a goal of mine. It's just taking me a really long time to get to this point even, so.
So Tara, do you really think that up to $6,000 is enough?
Up to 5.
I
Well,
mean, up
if
to 5,000?
that's to get me started with the Semify program, and then I'll come back with what I've learned from them, because I don't, like I said, we can't really establish a fund, so I don't really want to start on those lines. I just want to get us as prepared as possible, and then as soon as I know next steps, I'll come back.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to take up to $5,000 out of the 19,000 from, what is that called?
It's the
Fine,
town
Larry.
housing rehabilitation loan.
There you go. For Tara to,
Start the sum,
start the cemetery, yes.
second it.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Angie, I.
Jamie, I.
Bob, I.
Mike, aye. Tara, I want to, thank you that you and I have had this discussion, about this when we took over Oak Hill. And I know it's a huge thing, and I know you have the same feelings as I do on the cemeteries, but, personally, I think it's an awesome thing. So
Yeah,
thank you.
definitely. And luckily right now I have Kenny Odell has been really helpful with Oak Hill. So
Yeah,
I'm sure he will be amazed at what we can do with that mapping system compared to what he's had to deal with. So I can't wait to
exactly.
show him.
Right. No, and again, thank you for that, taking on
Yes,
this task.
definitely.
Hey, Mike,
Yep.
the cemetery you were talking about on Carpenter Hill, was that Eldridge?
The one on is Potter.
Oh, okay, all right. I
Yeah.
tried to help a citizen years and years ago on the select board who was looking for that old cemetery. Had no idea where it was, but I eventually found it on a map on Carpenter Hill. So there's
Yeah.
at least another one other than Bob.
Yeah. There's
Wow.
and there's a lot of old cemeteries when you start traveling around through town, when you're out in the woods, there's headstones, there's more headstones than you
You get
really
surprised.
realize that are out there.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I mean, I personally, not to take up a lot of time, but I personally find them extremely interesting when you go into an old cemetery and read, some of the headstones are pretty cool. It's just something
Some of the information around.
some of the information on them is really interesting. It really is, it's just something I've always done. So. Perfect. Any public comment, Hannah?
Not seeing any hands up.
Okay,
Oh, wait, Jim does have his hand up.
okay.
Jim, you can go ahead.
Hi, guys. Very interesting discussion about the
your
property
name.
take. Oh, I'm sorry, Jim Kostis, North Mason Hill Road.
Thank you.
Very interesting discussion on the property transfer or whatever, but I just want to make sure in the future, I heard her say, and I do know that area is a wetlands area. Just as listening to her, there's just concerns with the properties around that area. And I just want to make sure maybe any future discussions on it, that the abutters are notified about the discussion. I'm not sure if they were notified about that tonight, but I just want to make sure whatever decision you guys make also involves them to find out what ramifications down the road this wetlands could affect them. So Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more public comment here?
That's it.
And that's a good point. When we bring in unicorn management, we probably should notify the abutters. Okay. All right, executive for personnel.
So move.
Second,
Any discussion? I don't think there's gonna be action. All those in favor?
Angie, I.
Jamie, I.
Bob, I.
Mike, aye.